currently 25 to 30. It's expected to grow to 100 to 130. We do not know in the sigmoid curve which part we are.
We don't.
We could be towards the middle, but we're certainly not towards the end. Like the goal of the realistic market size is all about being pessimistic.
Yes.
Market segmentation. It's all about that. And for reference, our current 3D printing industry is roughly worth about 30 billion globally. I don't know what individual country things is. I don't work on individual countries. I work on global. But it's about 30 billion, which is quite a healthy, small industry. Now, we've got to be very aware that the 3D printing industry is exceedingly new. It's an old technology, but it's a new industry.
It's new to consumers.
And it's growing rapidly. Yeah. Well, it's also new to regular industry, is what we've been finding the hard way, is America's now a lot more advanced. No matter how you call it, America is a lot more advanced when it comes to additive. But especially in Europe, 3D printing is still not pervasive. It's not in machine shops. It might be on the lower level. They've just bought a consumer machine. So
funny story there real quick. For the first time, someone saw the, like, normally people are like, oh, that's a cute shirt because it's got a cat on it. Someone said, is that a belt printer? Like, yes. It was like, I expected someone to say something about the cat, not the 3D printer on the shirt. I'm like, yeah, it's belt printer. I'm like, that's so cool. Where can I get one? I'm like, well, shop.3dmusketeers.com. Links in the description. But yeah, like,
look at you shilling for yourself.
I've never had someone recognize the machine. They recognize that there's a cat and it's cute. They don't recognize the machine. So that was a thing. But anyways, total market being 25 to 30 billion dollars.
Yeah. Currently 25 to 30. It's expected to grow to 100 to 130 by 2030. It is growing rapidly. And while these are estimations done by big companies like BlackRock, who actually kind of don't know what they're doing half the time, it's still a very strong indicator that most of the expected growth is hundreds of percentages. And that is insane. Like a CAGR of, well, like 20% is ridiculous. Like normally industry growth is in sub 5%. And we're looking at like 15.
Yeah, I mean, we're
for this industry.
We're still on that front end of the hype curve. We haven't hit the peak, and we haven't started to fall back down.
We do not know in the sigmoid curve which part we are.
We don't.
We could be towards the middle, but we're certainly not towards the end.
Yeah, and so we mentioned TAM, SAM, and SOM, and those are the three big terminologies that, as a business or someone that wants to run a business, you will need to know this. So it is your total addressable market, serviceable. Is it said total addressable or total? Yeah, total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and serviceable obtainable market. And it'll look like three circles inside of each other. If you look up TAM, SAM, SOM, that's what it'll look like, because your total addressable market, which is the total market for your product, is much larger than the amount of the market that you can actually service, right? And the ones that you can realistically capture, you can't service all of them generally, especially when you're just starting out. If you can't easily define your TAM, SAM, and SOM, even if it's very, very basic, then you're not adequately marketing to your consumers. I'm on Reddit a lot, right? I watch the photo market subreddit like a hawk. Getting those deals, man. My most recent pickup, although it's not new. Well, I guess it is. I bought a bunch of new bags. You know about it. It's the bags that, you know those bags. I bought some more Peak Design bags. I have a problem.
He's got a gluttony for those bags.
Speaking of,
hey, Peak Design, if you're watching, because he will literally rave about them for hours.
These are really, really nice camera bags. Like, they're really, really nice camera bags. Anyways, great. I mean, here, I'll use them as an example, right? Total addressable market. Everyone that owns a camera or that needs a backpack every single day, like their everyday backpack line. Their serviceable addressable market, which is going to be mostly camera users, right? And their serviceable obtainable market, which are camera users that aren't very price sensitive, but love the fact they have an unconditional lifetime guarantee, regardless if you are the first owner or the 30th owner. They don't care. And it's why I buy all my Peak bags used. Right? I buy them all used because they still carry a warranty. Although their new colorways are really nice. I do like their new colorways a lot. But nonetheless, they very much know their target audience, and you pay a premium for Peak design. You could go buy a generic camera backpack from Amazon, but I would argue that it screams camera bag. If you don't know what Peak Design is as a company, and if you're not in the camera industry, you probably don't, I could walk by you with my big backpack full of camera gear, and you'd have pretty much no idea that it was full of camera gear. And that is a huge factor for me when I'm looking at camera bags, is that I don't want it to scream, I'm a camera bag full of gear, cut the straps and run. So if you look and say your total addressable market is everybody, okay, technically you're not wrong. But if you can narrow it down to car guys, car people, we should say, is your total addressable market. Your serviceable addressable market will be car people that own RX-7s, FD RX-7s specifically, and your serviceable obtainable market is going to be people that have RX-7s that have the disposable income, that want to do this modification, that have the money to spend on it.
Specific lifestyle.
Yeah, there's all these little things that have to add up, right? Because some people buy FD RX-7s, keep them bone stock, drive them like they stole them, because an angry Dorito at 9,000 RPM is a lot of fun, and that's factory 9,000 RPM. And they're the type of people that might argue about premix and whether or not that matters. And
like the goal of the realistic market size is all about being pessimistic.
Yes.
Like, you want to reduce that market size to a point where if it doesn't make financial sense, like you've narrowed it down to the point of there's only one person, then that's good, because it means you've done good research. It's one of the most important things to do before you do anything. Because if you don't know who you're selling to, you don't know if your product's going to be successful. And especially if you make your product, you then need to figure out how to sell it. And it's a lot easier to figure out how to sell it beforehand than it is with a lot of debt and a lot of upfront cost to just realize, oh, there's only 6 people in the world who want my product. Doesn't matter how good it is. If it's a low number, it might not be worth doing it.
I
There's
agree.
a reason generic products tend to do better, because they have a wider catchment area. So
yeah, and if you
it's hard to say, because a lot of us in the community are like, yeah, we should do it, it's a good idea, and we can make it happen. There's like the whole idea of like the 10th man is somebody who isn't related to what you're doing because they will say it as they see.
Is that a devil's
And
advocate?
for marketing, could be. I don't know. Words are hard.
Yeah.
But the whole point is, like, when you're doing market research, it's very easy, because you're the one doing it, to falsely give yourself good market research.
By only talking to friends and family. It's the worst possible market research you could ever do, unless your friends and family are also cheeky assholes, and then it's amazing.
But yeah, you need to do the research entirely based on pessimism. You need to prove it's not viable to do it. If you're going, it's like science. You don't have a hypothesis and you try to prove your hypothesis. You have a hypothesis and you go neutral, and you either, for the most part, try to disprove it. You do the tests and you try and find holes in your hypothesis, and then you come back and you fix it. It's the same with research when it's for markets. Like, you need to kind of prove to yourself that it isn't going to fail by trying to make it fail in the research stage. but sometimes you have to have a no person. Like, what was the American term where you have like the 10 smart guys and the one dumb guy? I can't remember.
Grant's company.
Somebody in the chat will correct me, but there's...
Because Disney's not in Orlando, it's in Kissimmee. It's not in Orlando. Right, we're doing the food talk now toward the end. Is that what...
we're doing food talk whenever it comes up.
Okay, all right.
That's for the editor to cut out.
I know, I forget what people...
Love you, Adam.